Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Facebook Live series. And my name is Krista, and today we have a very special guest. And this special guest of mine will come on to talk about the art and science of marketing himself and his business. So we have a bunch of questions for him. We also have a bunch of questions about his business as well as himself. So the other thing I also want all of you to do is if you have any questions regarding how he markets himself or how he markets his business, or even something maybe a little bit random, maybe not so much about him, but maybe about his background. As you can see, his background later, as I will introduce, has interesting trajectories in his career path. So I would also encourage you to look at some of the unusual and also some of the interesting things that he has been doing in his life before he became the co-founder of Fave. So without much further ado, let me bring our guest today onto the screen, Mr. Yeoh Chen Chow.
Thanks, Krista. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Chen Chow. Welcome to our series, and I'm really thankful that you made time. I know it's very busy for you. I mean, even before this, you were in a meeting, right?
Yeah, back to back. Yeah. Then later at 4, I got another meeting.
Okay, so you're really
Yeah.
strapped for time. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's
Usually
get
it's
started.
about 20 meetings a day.
Wow, that's a lot. Wow, that's really a lot.
More or less.
How do you pace yourself with 20 meetings?
I think MCO helps a lot because you don't need to travel. So I think during non-MCO, you can do about 10, 12 a day because a few that
10,
you need
12,
to go
that's
around.
a lot.
Yeah. So right now, I think because you stay at home, so you just back to back, right?
Yeah.
And I think the meeting time also cut short. So a lot of them became half an hour. I think back then, a lot of time when you meet people, it became 45 minutes, 1 hour.
Okay. So now it's easier for you to get to your meetings compared
Next
to
to
the
next,
past.
yeah. And this one, next one.
Okay. So before we start, let me just introduce Chen Chow to all of you here. So Fave is a Malaysian app which actually gives customers access to offers and discounts from over 5,000 cafes, restaurants, spas, gyms, beauty salons, travel services, and more. And customers can buy deals or vouchers to use at brick and mortar stores for discounts ranging from 20 to 80%, which is called Fave Deals. And the app also offers Fave Pay, which is an easy way to pay at your favorite restaurants and get up to 30% in instant cash back without the need to swipe your credit card or pay with cash. So prior to co-founding Fave, Chen Chow was the Regional Operations Director for Groupon Asia Pacific. He had also worked at JobStreet, and before that as a consultant at Accenture. Chen Chow is an Eisenhower Fellow and an alumnus of Cornell University. Cornell is one of the 8 Ivy League colleges in the US, so this tells you a little bit about his academic achievements. He was awarded a full scholarship by the government to study for his bachelor's degree in electrical and computer engineering at Cornell. In fact, he also had a triple minor in engineering management, information science, industrial system, and information technology. So that tells you a little bit more about the kinds of things he's interested and passionate about. And he's also a member of Mensa, which is a society for individuals with high IQ. He's passionate and active in youth, student, and entrepreneur empowerment, and he spent quite a bit of his free time mentoring others. He's also an angel investor who has invested in numerous early-stage startups in the region. And most of all, and this is why I enjoy bringing certain guests to my show, is that he is also a Penangite. His alma mater is Jitsin High School in Bukit Mertajam. So Chen Chow, welcome to our Redbox Studio Facebook Live series, and we're so excited to have you here. So in this session, we want to talk to you about marketing, specifically how you market yourself and how you market Fave. So can we jump in and start with Fave? How did you initially begin marketing this app? And also, did people assume that you were Groupon in new clothes since you did come from Groupon?
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Krista, for this. I think really honored to be here on this series of talk with a Redbox Studio. I think known Krista and Nic for a long time. I think 15, 20 years. I think so.
Yeah.
I think good to be connected on this show today. So I think on in terms of Fave, I think we started. I think maybe a bit of history of it. So I think in 2010, Joel started Group Small, and Joe and Kylie did that, and then in 2011, Groupon acquired that business. So I joined them in the 2011. So work on Groupon. It started in Malaysia, eventually taking care of Asia Pacific till 2015. So in 2015, we left Groupon. So we started KFit. We had a 1 year non-compete against Groupon, so we did KFit, a fitness startup, for 1 year. And then in 2016, we eventually went back into this field. So we soft launched Fave, and then we went to acquire the Groupon subsidiaries in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia. So that took us second half of 2016 and first half of 2017. We fully migrated, integrate, merge, rebrand into Fave by Q2 2017. So that was about 3 years ago from today, right? I think since then, I think we started from the point where when we call the restaurants and retailers and say we are Fave, and people are like, what? What is Fave?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think
okay.
today, hopefully, I think in the restaurant retail space, I think people knew about us. I think there's a long way to go to really build across. And I think that today, from various aspects, whether with the government, whether with the industry, I think with the merchants, I think we're sort of in there to play a role. I think that just a few days ago, Penang Chief Minister shared a video for Penang Lawan COVID-19, which it features a few places like I think IKEA, Sunshine Supermarket, Din Tai Fung, and I think in that video as well, we served Din Tai Fung as well. So I think that Din Tai Fung good enough to put us in that. So I think sort of there's a lot of a soft way to do it. So I think that's sort of big picture of it. But I think if you look at it on how do we get the brand out, right? I think is, let's say example, in the early days, especially in 2017, 2018, 20, even to 2019, we were sending a lot of brand ambassadors, people wearing this pink shirt, going at the shops and basically helping the business consumers to basically come on this cashless, right? So a lot of people may not be like, okay, how do I use my people may not be daring enough to use their phone to make payment, right? So I think back then the so before the people make the first time, press a few buttons and then pay. So people will feel like, okay, is it real? Is it whatnot? So I think having a people guiding it through, I think that helps quite a bit of the journey. And I think that we see from Penang as well, there's a very good market, I think, where people were using it quite aggressively and continuously. So I think that's one of the aspects. And I know that Penang state government as well, I think under YB Jagdeep, I think they are going into the markets as well to get the pasar, to get hawkers areas, to get into digital cashless as well. So I think that would be one other steps that getting more businesses to go across. So I think for us is constantly going on the brand and just ensuring that I think the experience as best as we can for the merchant and consumer. And I think doing the brand value continuously, bringing the exciting new rewards, cashbacks. So I think let's say think of the when you use PayPay to pay, almost 99 point something percentage of the transactions would have a cashback. So I think that enable people to to build that habit to go back to that same shop, right? So I think that's some of the things there.
Can you talk a little bit? Right? I think when we spoke much earlier, you were telling me about your brand ambassadors. How did you come to this idea of using these brand ambassadors versus, like I say, maybe advertising or doing either online or offline advertising? So how did that come about, the idea?
Yeah, so I think that in terms of if you look at the shopping malls, right? So I think in the shopping malls, the cost to advertise there actually with the malls actually very expensive, right? So I think what are the better ways to get your brand out there without paying the big amount to the malls, right? So I think so one of the key part is that I think we have a lot of merchants in these various outlets. So I think what we did was we worked with them to enable our brand ambassadors to be at their shops. And I think for these outlets as well, if you think from their perspective, it's not easy to get waitresses, and it has cost as well for them. So I think so it could be a win-win synergy where we provide a brand ambassador who could be at the shops and help the shops to serve their customers, and at the same time introduce FavePay to them, right? So I think that's sort of a win-win synergy that we built across. So I think that sort of helped us to build through. And I think that people were at different outlets at different places. And so think of it is like it's a one big bang kind of marketing and say, okay, we are here, rather that is at a different shop. So I think a lot of people have seen this at the different outlets when you are at, and I think that create the brand recall. So people say, okay, let me just try it first time, right? So I think that objective is a lot is getting people to try first time, because after you try first time, you do it yourself, second time, third, fourth time, it became very simple, right? So I think that's always that leap of faith to cross through.
So it means that you put people who are wearing your Fave t-shirts in the cafes or restaurants. I personally have experienced that where they are standing there, and when you want to pay, they ask you, do you have Fave, right?
Yeah.
And then if you say yes, okay, they'll let you pay. But if you don't have Fave, they'll say, oh, do you know about Fave? And they start talking about it and what benefits or privileges you get as a result of using Fave. I think they also kind of help you to find it, download it from in your phone and stuff like that, which I think is actually a very good way, because like I said, a lot of times when you're talking about apps, it's not just about using it, it's about finding it and downloading it and then using it, right? So that process is a bit tricky for some people, or probably most of us humans are lazy. We kind of want things given to us automatically. So I feel like that actually is something a lot of people should also think about when they're thinking about having an app, which not necessarily everyone would be, rushing out to download it and use it. Yeah, so I thought that was a very interesting strategy, and I wanted you to share this with our audience here today. So at least they know what are some of the marketing things that Fave has used. Aside that, with these people in the Fave t-shirts, but then you're also telling me that sometimes they didn't allow them to be wearing Fave t-shirts, right? There were instances like that?
Yeah, so I think at some of the malls where they were like, okay, you can't do advertising there, right? So I think then, I think as a startup, a lot of time is I think we hustle and try think out of the box and whatnot, right? So I think we have done several times as well where we actually work with the merchants to wear their staff uniform, right? So our people in their staff uniform and serve in there. Then and hence they are not wearing our pin. So maybe the direct branding is not there, but it also serves the same purpose of that, right? So I think I think in the startup journey, especially being a smaller player, I think it's always try to think out of the box and say, okay, how do we be able to go through that? So if you think of Grab, Uber back then, or even like Airbnb, I think they constantly, especially when you do innovation, new things, there will always be, because the rules and regulations, everything may not be fully ready to cater to it. So I think it's how do you think out of the box, try different way, try to go out there and drive it. So I think it's create the buzz, create the talking points, thinking. Let's say like recently as well, we get on Harif Skandar to be the Fave ambassador. So I think that the guy, he is pretty interesting guy, right? It's a very different kind of perspective. So I think we sort of get him to come in and talk about using Fave. And I think that also helps us to drive our demographics, because I think our demographics so far has been a lot more at the urban. So let's say like Penang, the island part is good, right? So a lot of people are more urban centric. So I think the good with Harris Kanda is how do we get towards more mass market, right? So I think that's one big part that to go through.
Okay, so when you brought up this demographic, I was going to jump in and ask you. So, what is generally the demographic for the users of your Fave app?
Yeah, so I think our users are predominantly credit card users, right? So I think that's our key segment. So I would say that generally late 20s to 40, 50 years old. So I think, and actually one fun fact is that there are a lot of CEOs out there, some of them running billion-dollar business, and they will be using Fave, because there are a few times, some of them will be showing this Dato Tan Sri, which when I meet them, they're like, first thing they show on my phone, see, I know how to, because for them, a lot of the people in their 40, 50, 60 years old, knowing how to use digital is actually a sense of achievement. Actually, we also found a lot of the like housewife, aunties, and every machi and everything. When they know how to use, they actually became a very good influencer, because they try to show off to all their friends that say they are the savvy ones, right? They know how to do this thing, right? And then when their friend doesn't know, they will go and teach them, right? So I think even my one fun story was Joel, the other founder, right?
Yeah.
His mom, one fine day came back and showed Joel and said, hey, I found about this thing. This is so interesting, exciting. And she was teaching telling Joe this is how to do it. Then I think after some time, Joe was like, "Hey, mom, this is my company." So the mom didn't know. The mom
The
knew
mom
that we do
didn't
something
know.
to know exactly what is it, right? So it's
Yeah.
like the mom was talking about it, and
Yeah.
actually we have a few staff that had that experience, right? Their parents and came back and like, hey, talking about it. It's like, yeah, I've been telling you for so long. This is what I've been doing because they don't understand it. And one day they
Yeah.
hear from their friends and like, oh, now I use it, and they came back and like, oh, this is the thing, yeah.
So there's nothing like a bit of social pressure to get into using the app, right? So if your friends are using it, it also makes it easier for you to slowly migrate yourself to trying out the app. So I think
Yeah.
to me that itself also talks a lot about how we are influenced by our friends and the people
Mm,
around us compared to
yeah.
probably our family members. Like if our family members tell us, probably we kind of like shrug it off. But if our friends tell us, then we kind of pay more attention to it. Okay, talking
Yeah.
about demographic with urban and credit card users, let's
Mm,
look at like because of MCO, right? A lot of us are stuck at home. We can't get out to basically dine in and do all the stuff that we used to do. So how
mm.
has this actually, in a way, affected the usage of your app and, of course, the merchants?
Yeah, so I think we start from the merchant standpoint, right? So I think
Yeah.
during MCO, also if you look at March 17 and March 18,
Mm,
basically it's a sharp cliff drop off, right, on the March
mm,
18,
yeah.
right? So it's sort of like just one day and then just crash down, right? So I think
Mm,
that's sort of one cliff that go across. So I
mm,
think on the March 18, I think where most places are closed. So I think that definitely have impact, right? So I think because for us, we serve in Malaysia about 20,000 businesses, restaurant,
wow.
offline retails, and everything, right?
Yeah.
So we are combination of their business. So if
Okay.
they're down, we are down, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
sort of where it is. So yes, I think the dine, let's say we think on our core category dine in, right? So during 18 March till maybe 3rd May, none of us do
Okay.
any dine in, right? Legally,
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
supposed to do,
Yeah.
be able
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
retail
Otherwise, you'll
unless
be
for
tracked, right? Otherwise, your app can track us.
yeah, so know that okay, this person is doing that, right? So
Yeah.
and actually we actually know, right?
Mm,
Some businesses
yeah.
like, hey, how come this transaction? We actually go and ask them, right? Hey,
Oh, you do
how come
actually
they
do.
we actually know,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And then some of them they try to, especially retail, they try to do different way of transacting and crossing money and sending things across to their loyal customers, everything. So I think that's one part, right? So I think
Mm,
the retail as well, right? I think unless essential is all closed, beauty wellness is still closed until today,
mm,
right? We're not sure whether when the on the 10th of June what will shift, but I think
mm,
haircuts and everything, beauty, wellness, massage, I think all those are still closed. Hotels, attractions. So I think there's a huge impact across board, right? And I think
yeah.
that you think back in January or December last year, early
Mm,
January, a lot of businesses do business planning for 2020.
mm,
I think no one would have imagined build a scenario, no matter what kind of build scenario analysis that you build, you would never have imagined that 2 months, 2.5 months after you build your scenario,
yeah.
everything closed. Right. So
Yeah.
even in the worst recession, I think Marriott CEO was talking about it that in the worst recession was 25% of business down.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
in this scenario, a lot of businesses were 95, 99, 100% down. Right. And I think it's a completely off everything. Right. And so I think then during that period, then is how do we adapt? And I think what are the right thing to do and what are the things that we shouldn't do. So I think in the first 1, 2 days, then as this thing got announced, it's like, okay, what should we focus on? So I think
Yeah.
one of the things that we know is open is takeaway, right? So then the
Mm,
question came back and say, okay, should we do that or should we not do that?
mm,
Right. So I think
yeah.
one of the key part that think of it in 3rd week of March, right? Just MCO just started.
Yeah.
People were saying, please stay at home, right?
Mm,
Duduk di rumah,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if we get people to go out and do takeaway, we are
Yeah.
actually going to be part of the problem. We're going to be part of the problem that not reduce the flatten the curve, right? Because that time
Mm,
it's flatten the curve. So I think one decision that we take instead of driving people back to take away was to
mm,
say, please stay at home. All right, don't go
mm,
out and do takeaway. And I
yeah.
think interesting that some restaurant owners as well are saying that yes, they could make a bit more revenue or maybe a bit more profit if people go and take away.
Yeah.
But if you think on a bigger picture as a society player, ecosystem, community, then we shouldn't do that. So I think that's
Mm,
one of the aspects as well, right? So that we need to look then I think one of the things that we drive during that period was we call it Save Our Faith. So I think
Hmm.
basically a lot of local businesses may go bust, and which I think we see it today,
Yeah.
right? At places where
And it's a harsh
they,
reality, right?
yeah,
It's a
and
harsh
I think like
reality.
even like MPH, a lot of outlets are closed. I
Yeah.
think there's the massage spa that a lot of them are shut down outlets, restaurants as well, and even the
Mm.
very reputable restaurant chains. A lot of them talking about which outlets to close, and so a lot of them they may not shut down the brand, but they're like, okay, which one that were not already doing that well before, maybe they
Mm.
should close it down. Which one the lease is almost ending or ended,
Mm.
maybe
Mm.
we should stop that. So I think there's a few aspects that were all combination to that, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
one piece of that. So I think Save Our Faith, basically we were lucky to get a bunch of celebrity to come in to drive that and to create the awareness lah, and aspects on it. Yeah.
Okay. So of course, definitely everyone's affected, right? So that's a given, given this MCO and all that. The other thing, let's go to Penang, which is like your home state, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Penang. Let's talk about what are some of the insights or what are some of the fascinating things that you have observed during this MCO period about Penang users or Penangites, or even
Yeah.
before. Like, maybe let's talk about before and now. So at least there's a comparison and contrast.
Yeah, so I think for Penang, I think that especially maybe I talk about island part, right? So
Yeah.
I think during the normal time, I think we see a very good concentration, right? So I think
Mm.
if you go to various business area, whether in the big malls, Queens Bay, Gurney, or
Yeah.
you would go to even the shop lots area,
Mm.
especially I think in Baru area or even in town center, there's a lot of good density, all right, of the brands. I think people aware of it, people are using it. I think
Yeah.
quite hard to meet someone in the age of 20 something to 50
Mm.
something that who never heard or never seen Fave, right? So I think
Mm.
Penang penetration was there. So I think that
Yeah.
was that part, right? I think Penang actually has a lot of similarity to Singapore. So I think when
Yeah.
we look at the business of us, Singapore and Penang actually has a very solid part because it's a island state, right? Especially
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
So where concentration play a big part on this, right? So that was one key aspect. And I think during COVID time, I think if you go into March, I think one of the things during COVID is that places that who have been doing takeaway well, I think
Yeah.
will get it. Places that have a decent brand will get it.
Mm.
And I think places that they can conveniently do takeaway,
Mm.
parking play a big part, right? And I think whether you can conveniently get it without paying parking, you can
Mm.
just drop down because that place because you can't stay that long and whatnot,
Yeah.
right? So
And you
people
can't double
tend to
park, right? Can't double
yeah,
park.
minimize double park or places that you can double park and not so easy get into trouble. So
Yeah.
people will be going on those kind of play, right? And I think
Yeah.
on the as the opening up, I think it was on a Friday first. I think on the can't remember exactly it's a as a Friday, right? I think
Mm.
15th of May, if I'm not wrong, right? Penang,
Yeah.
where in the malls you are allowed to open.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first starting point. And then on the 18th, allowed the rest of the F&B in the shops allowed to open. So I think as you see the opening up is that back then in the pre-COVID, people go to where you see a long line, that's the best place you go. Now with
Okay.
COVID,
Mm.
you if you go to a place you see it's very crowded,
Yeah.
you go to the next place because
Yeah.
people actually go away from crowd. And I think what we also see is that in the initial opening, people were avoiding peak hours. So that means
Yeah.
you try to eat early lunch, 11
Mm.
o'clock,
Mm.
11:30, or late lunch, 2 p.m., 2:30, 6 p.m. dinner. So I think it was a fringes and then gradually going for more lunch. And I think dinner time, the recovery is still slow. So I think if you go around Penang Island as Penang State as well, or even
Yeah.
nationwide,
Mm.
the dinner time crowd is still not huge. And actually, if you think on logic wise, it's not perfect, right? Because
Mm.
the virus is not like more infectious at night. It's not
Yeah.
that way. But I
True.
think because the MCO has built a habit, people
Yeah.
were locked down for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, right? You
Yeah.
don't go out at night.
Mm.
Back then, you would be going out, hang out, everything. So you now it's like okay, you go out for essential, you go eat, and then you come back, right? So not many
Mm.
people go out, and I think with the limitation of 4 people as well, and I think people now hang out is a lot more close family
Mm.
or close friends or close
Yeah.
colleagues. It's no
Yeah.
longer the bigger group, right? So I think, and I think one of the trend we see is those that have private dining room has a
Mm.
lot more people going on it, right? So I think
Yeah.
people were like can book private dining rooms, so it's safer, right? In that sense, so that you don't get contaminated with other people. So I think that is one of the part of play. But I think that the norm will continue to be set, right? I think that New Zealand is about to go towards like no social distancing. I think something that here is still pretty, we don't think, not imagine on it, but I think we have also seen markets like Vietnam, New Zealand, where they wipe out the case completely and they can go on that mode, right? Not sure how long it is. And I think the tourism as well, I think we're going to see that the recovery is going to start from domestic tourism. Because if you think on it, they even take Penang people, right?
Yeah.
If let's say take last year, many people have gone on overseas for holidays. So yes, people income may get impacted and everything. But I think those that who, especially those that didn't get impacted or those that have some savings, the savings from those overseas travel that you used to do, now you people will like, okay, after a few months of super stress, I would want to take a simple nearby, which is where the domestic travel within Penang State or maybe neighboring areas, staycation, I think that's going to come up. And I think now has a lot of great deals,
So
right?
it's like Chuti Malaysia back again. So
Yeah,
we're back into that mode.
And maybe Cuti Penang, right? Even not even
Chuti
going
Penang.
out,
Yeah.
right? Especially right now when you can't cross state, right? So then it's like within the state, within the area, right? So I think well, people still need to relax still to get through. But now and maybe people now will be more cost conscious, right? So what kind of price point can do? And good is I think a lot of places are doing great discounts. Especially hotels, I think for those hotels that are open right now, I think the price point is a lot lower than 6 months ago, right? So I think that's one of
so you can do a weekend getaway, city staycation kind of thing.
Yeah. And even like let's say those that who are more adventurous, like let's say in Bali, there are a bunch of villas that at $50 for 2,000 square feet and validity until next year. So question is whether are you adventurous enough? And I think there will be different segments. So I think one of the interesting talk with the restaurant owners recently was that during the May, when those people, the early people going out, those people that go out a lot of them are actually not as scared of the virus, right? So there are two groups. Segment A is people that have already gone out the last 2-3 weeks, right? This group, they are doing precautions, but they're not as scared in the sense that, let's say the restaurant menu, a lot of them are still giving physical menu. Some of them try to implement digital and say digital menu. A lot of this group is like, okay, never mind lah. Since I'm out, I'm not that worried. I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of them is like, okay, never mind. Back to the old way, as long as I don't get too close to someone, I'm fine. Right? So that's segment one. And I think there's still, I'm quite sure you have friends or families that people have not gone out after a few weeks of CMCO. And that group, over time, gradually, some of them will gradually go out. And this group, as they go out, the expectation of social distancing, cleanliness, safety will be a lot higher than the first batch. When this group go out, they will expect that, okay, I don't dare to touch menu. I don't dare to touch cash. I don't dare to touch pretty much everything, right? So I think this group with a very different expectation, and this group will be coming up this month, next month, as they go along, because they can't be staying inside forever, but the expectation is very different. So I think as this group they'll be choosing places that have a lot more precaution, right? And I think that the other bar that will come in, the eight bar as in bar the drinking, but the more like the next level that come in will be beauty wellness open, right? I think that will be happening in the next 1, 2, 3 months. May not be all, but certain aspects, right? So I think after some time people will go and cut hair. It's just how. What's the best way? What's the way that is safe?
I'm waiting for the hair salon to open. My hair is so long. I haven't cut my hair for like so long. So that's the first thing I would really hope it can open. So let's look at some of the comments here. I think that there are a number of all your Fave users are here. Somebody saying I'm a Fave. Okay, this person, Adele says, I'm a Fave merchant.
Oh, thanks a lot.
So she's the Fave merchant. And then then this Dream Vase, I know this person, Alexis. My mom is an active Fave user. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And then there's a bunch of people here who are probably your friends. And also this one, she says, Kyu Hong says, haven't been using during MCO, which is actually correct as per what you are saying. Yeah. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you is you and the other founder, Joel.
Yes.
Okay, both of you are out there you're the face of the brand, in a way, like ambassador or face of the brand. And you have been invited to a lot of business talks, conferences, panels, as well as featured in many online and offline publications. So what is your take on the founders of a business being the face of the business and going out there and doing this? And was this a conscious decision on both your parts?
Yeah. So I think that is it conscious food? I think for us is that I think we have seen that brands equal people, right? Let's say Tony Fernandez. I think those are very clear. Richard Branson, Virgin. So I think that's one key part. But I think that today, I think for us, actually there are many spokespeople in Fave, right? So I think if you think of from technology standpoint, Azumi, our CTO, he's always out there speaking to that crowd. On the people side, Anisha has been doing that. I think on various aspects, Audra has been doing that. Singapore side, Ikpong AP, our Singapore MD, has been doing a lot of that. Joel, myself. So I think there are multiple stakeholder people, I think, that who have been going out, let's say, in terms of payments. Kuan Yu, our head of merchant product, has been going out speaking a lot as well. So I think we actually have 6, 7 at least frequent speakers that go out at a different platform, right? So I think a lot of it, I don't think it's just like, okay, 1%, 2%, because I think every one of us would have different preference of what we can speak. And I think in the end is a choice point. I think in the end is go with your heart and say that what speak to your mind and speak through what you want to, rather than a very generic just go speak, right? So let's say example, for me, each time when I speak to different audience, my goal is to try to understand the audience, right? So I think, let's say for this one, Krista actually had a pre-call, and then she actually shared with me more of who will be tuning in for this Redbox Studio and what kind of audience it is, right? So tomorrow I'm doing for marketing magazine. So that one is a different, all of them are CMO, marketing director, marketing manager. Maybe the segment and the style of sharing will be quite different. And then next week I'm doing one with the venture capitalist, right? Venture capital group. So it's different group again. So I think a lot of it is knowing the audience, and I think speak based on that. So I think to me that's key, right? So let's say today, if this segment is all Series B, Series C founders that have been around for a long time, maybe the topic they go in will be quite different. If today maybe the topic is to people that who are traditional business want to move to digital, then maybe the coverage is on how do you, for these people, what are the crucial for them to go through, right? So I think when you do virtual is harder a bit. Let's say usually in a face-to-face, especially in a smaller audience, usually it would be for me to capture from the audience what makes them turn up today, what they want to hear about, right? Because that enables it to cover it, right? I think now as we go on digital, is learning how to adapt to it, because it's not as simple. But I think during these 3 months, I think all of us has gone on video so much. I think that I have spoken more on video in these 3 months more than my entire life before this, right?
Yes. I think most of us, we have done more Zoom, more Skype, more of everything that's digital compared to probably the last 12 months or even the entire, like you say, entire life. So in a way, it's good. It's a push, right, for us to actually go and embrace the digital. We've been talking about it, but no one has really done it. Okay, we have a question from Gina. Okay, I want to pull it up for you. So she says, will Fave open up to pharmacies?
Yes, So I think there are a bunch of pharmacies actually with us. I think Alpro and a bunch of those. Yeah, definitely. So Gina, if you own a pharmacy, then you know of any pharmacies that will come on board, let us know, let me know, or can go to Favebiz, FAVEBIZ.com, and then just fill it in, and then we'll basically get it on board. So I think that there are a bunch of pharmacies that are on Fave.
Okay. So hope that answers your question, Gina. Okay, so now I want to ask you about something that is about marketing hiccups. I'm sure, this journey of yours, it hasn't been all the time smooth, and hasn't been all the time everything perfect, right? Whatever you planned turned out perfectly. So were there any marketing hiccups or some issues that you had when you were first starting out with the app? And perhaps
Yeah.
how did you overcome?
Yeah, so maybe this one before going on hours, maybe I'll quote Mac Chun Ling. So
Okay.
she is the CEO of Nando's, right? So I listened to one of her video webinar 2 days ago, right? I think
Yeah.
2 3 days
Yeah.
ago. So
Yeah.
and she was talking about like how she empowered the team to go
Yeah.
out there and do their marketing without needing to
Okay.
go through her or even
Yeah.
her team leaders. So a lot of
Yeah.
time when she knew is when certain things had gone viral. And I
Mm,
think she talked about like the setting the big picture and then enable
mm,
people to be creative, right? So let's say example, even in Fave, the same thing, where a lot of times when I go to Insta stories and I look at the Fave, that's when the first time I knew about it, like, right? I think
mm,
most of us, we actually don't go and get them to submit a plan, because during this time, if you submit a plan, you'll be too slow, right? So the team actually enable to go and do it. I think of course there's a brand guide in the sense of, okay, our official color is pink, right?
yeah.
So don't
Yeah.
go and put random colors or whatnot, the big picture, but I think the creativity and things should be within the team. So on hiccups, I think they are. I think like let's say there was once, I think it was 2 years ago.
Mm,
So I think I won't say hiccup lah. So I think there's debatable on it. So this was in
mm,
Bangsa. So at
yeah.
a big billboard, huge billboard, I think our team suddenly we drove past and we saw
Mm.
just F cross 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 and the star 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 IT, right? And then
Okay.
the star 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 became FAVE, just Fave it, right?
Yeah.
So but if you go drive from far from 20 meters apart, 30 meters apart, you see in a
Yeah.
big billboard
Yeah.
is just in a big pink, just
Yeah.
F star 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 IT,
Yeah.
right? So I think
Okay.
it's a pretty interesting, and we didn't know. I think like then it was debatable, right? Some people think that's okay, good, catchy. Some people is
Yeah.
like no, 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 take it down, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is, and we actually let each team in each country to decide, right, what
Yeah.
they should do, what they shouldn't do, and make the decision. So I think that in terms of branding, I think the no PR is bad PR unless it is a PR that hurt people. I think maybe that, right, or the branding that hurt people or marketing that hurt people, right? I think
Mm,
as long as I think the intention is good, I think it's fine, right? So I think in the end, it's just how do you capture the market? How do you create that impression? How do you get the visibility? How do you get the engagement, right? And I think today the engagement is no longer like the good old days. Good old days, you spend long time plan, prepare, and then do a one big bang. Back
mm,
then, you do one time huge budget, but one time. I
mm,
think right now a lot of it is like it's a many little actions that you do. Your brand, your value, people shape from your many little actions that you have done over time, right? So I think people go through that and then see it. So let's say during MCO, we did a lot of this webinar for our
mm.
merchants, for our restaurants, right? So I
Okay.
think yeah, so and we bring in speakers to come in and speak to them to on pivoting, speaking about how do you look into their business model changes. We even some of the brand and marketing that we do that may not be directly called marketing, right? So I say
Mm,
spend quite a lot of time with the F&B owners to
mm.
draft proposal to submit to ministry, chamber of commerce and everything, right? So I think
Okay.
as a platform, it's not technically our task. No one said, okay, you should do this, right? It's not even our
Yeah.
marketing plan. Okay, let's go do this.
Yeah.
But I think at that moment we saw that and it's like, okay, how about we do this? And they were trying to do it, and we come in and jump in, help them with some bit of it, and then driving it, and then cross. And I think building that synergy, building that understanding across the right. So I think the engagement as well, true. So I think there's no bad marketing. I think
Mm,
that sometimes the visibility is not there. So sometimes maybe I would think a hiccup. If a lot of time we think that this could be a big, people will be talking about it. People may
mm.
find it funny. People may find
Yeah.
it viraling it,
Yeah.
and end up no one viraling it, lah, right? And I
Yeah.
think question there are many of those instances,
Okay.
right? And of course sometimes that we do even I think there was one raya where we create a bingo of things that you do during raya, and it
Yeah.
just went viral, right? For no reason, right? So I think is let it organic, let it be. Like our Singapore team decided during the MCO to came out together and sing a song to cheer people up.
Mm,
Right. So
okay. Yeah.
It was an employee singing. There's non-professional, nothing basic, right? But it's just a
Yeah.
basic. Everyone go on a Zoom call and record, and that singing. Some of
Yeah.
it out of tune a bit, but it was the team have fun and it go out there,
Yeah.
right? Creating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think is that. Yeah.
I think sometimes it's also the spontaneous stuff, the spontaneous things that people do that your audience or the people around you actually appreciate. It's not so much the stuff that you plan 3 months, 6 months, and then execute it perfectly, right? I think a lot of times it's just that the spontaneous stuff that you do, and the stuff that you do because I think in the end, because we care. Like you were saying,
Yeah.
you know, it's not your task to do it for the merchants, but you felt there was a need to do it for the merchants to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's sort of where line on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, let's go a little bit into your you yourself, how you market yourself, right? How have you managed to stay resilient over your entire career path? And you did so many things. You were at JobStreet, you were at Accenture, you were of course at Groupon, and then now you're at Fave. How do you find the energy, or what do you do to market yourself as well as at the same time market your business? Because I think sometimes with founders it's that tricky, right? Because you represent the business also. At the same time, you also market yourself. So how do you do that? And has your past career actually helped?
Yeah. So I think to me, to be honest, it's not a very conscious way of like, okay, this is
Yeah.
marketing or how to do it. I think a
Yeah.
lot of it is, let's say I look back in my Accenture time, I think
Yeah.
that time I don't think I only did maybe one or two talks on education,
Okay.
scholarships,
Yeah.
applications. So more on pure NGO applying for scholarship applications. So I think I back then did a forum called Recom, and
Yeah.
then with a bunch of friends, and also we did a US application workshops. So I
Yeah.
think a bunch of those things. So I
Yeah.
think it's a lot more in that kind of platforms. And I think during JobStreet, I did a more. I think my exposure to speaking quite a bit came during JobStreet days. I think where we went to speak at campuses on how to apply for jobs, how to go prepare for interview and everything. And I think in the Groupon days, we did several. I won't say a lot, but I think nowhere near. I think this one couple of years, but I think those are more several sessions on. I think as we go through that journey, like Groupon journey, ups, down, whatnot, and I think Groupon journey as well because I traveled overseas a lot. So I worked at those days, 2013, 2015. I was mainly maybe back in Malaysia 3 to 5 days a month, right? So I think it was
Oh,
pretty much 3 to 5 countries a week. I think that time I still right, young, so my body can still take it. Like
okay.
Sunday night took a flight to Australia, reached
Yeah.
there Monday morning, had meeting. Monday night flew back out to Japan. Tuesday do meeting. Tuesday night fly out again, maybe to Philippines, and then go through that thing.
So
So
you were doing a lot of air miles.
yeah, on whatever cheapest flight, lah, right? So, but I think we did that a lot of things.
Yeah.
So those days, I think a week, 1, 2 nights, 3 nights a week, sleep on the plane, right? In the small economy seats. So I
Mm,
think that's we did it for a couple of years. So I
mm,
think those days, I think didn't do as much to be honest.
mm,
And I think during this journey in the last 5 years, building on this K-Fit to Faith journey, I think that's when I think more opportunity to share. And I think a lot of time is also that the I think audience and I think that is going on a topic and I think a lot of time for me for the sharing on the session is just be myself and
mm,
I think just speak my mind, right? So I think what I think I know, what I think is the right thing, then just go with it. So I think the same thing I think with our team as well. We I think whenever people go out to speak, I think they just
mm,
go on it and I think on an angle and then just go with it. Like, I think speak through the mind rather than say, okay, this is the company way of saying. And I think individually as well, I think li- the last I think 1 year I started to move more of my company sharing things into LinkedIn rather than Facebook. I think the earlier days was more on Facebook. I sort of gradually reduced that sort of going in. But to be honest, I haven't do a lot of personal sharing that much in Facebook, even Instagram. So I think so generally still keep my personal life more private, lah, right? So I think that's sort of where I do. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think
mm.
it has a preference, and I think
Yeah.
that whichever way that makes you feel comfortable.
Comfortable. Okay. So we have a question here from Vimaleswari. So she asked, would love to know how does Chen Chow able to measure or gauge the positive impact of being empathic? Because the title was The Empathic Entrepreneur. And I think that one of the things I wanted to also mention is that you're a person that's full of empathy and you really, really care for people. Even in the early days that I knew you when we were, here's a little side note. We used to help Chen Chow organize this talk on US scholarships for parents and teachers, for parents, teachers, and students in Penang who wanted to know about how to apply to and get into US universities, right? So even back then, I think there's this people factor. People really enjoyed listening to you, and they really like you for being frank and down to earth, as well as very, very realistic about things. You didn't sugarcoat certain things and tell them it's so easy to apply and all that. So yeah, so I think empathy is actually one of the traits which I saw very clearly in you. So I think Vimaleswari's question actually will be a good way to ask, okay, how do you measure your positive or your empathy?
Yeah. Thanks, Krista, for sharing. Yeah, and I think with my less worry. So I think really good question. To be honest, I mean, I have to admit that I actually don't know, haven't think about how to measure or gauge the positive impact. So I think a lot of the, I think empathy, I think a lot is just being ourselves, just being genuine ourselves, speak the heart. And I think that sometimes even with our team, right, we have to communicate tough decisions, right? Especially during these 3 months COVID, I think there's multiple tough conversation that we have to do with our team and optimizing and whatnot, right? So I think we're like, so I think that there will be tough moments. I think a lot of it is I think from the other angle. The people, the receipt. In the end, it's not about what you say, but it's what people feel and what people get and feel after that conversation, right? And that conversation could be a one-on-one, could be virtual, could be face-to-face, we one with 100 or with 10. I think in the end is that did people walk away from that conversation feeling better or feeling worse? Did people walk away from that conversation feeling more pumped up, feeling more excited, motivated, or the opposite? People feel very upset after talking to you. People feel much more lost, not sure what to do. Maybe people feel disappointed. And I think that if you ask me whether are there moments that I caused a lot of those things, yeah, I think I have to admit that there are many times, right? I think all of us, especially I think in the midst of getting things right, a lot of times, because a lot of time our angle is thinking of, okay, what we want to achieve. A lot of time we don't have a bad intention. We want to achieve something, we try to drive on it. But indirectly, what we try to drive may have a real impact on other people without us consciously knowing about it. And I think that's always the tough one, right? So sometimes different people feel and sense differently as well, right? So some people are a lot more sensitive. Some people are less sensitive, right? And what people take out from a sharing, right? And especially I think let's say like virtual right now when I do this session here, right? I can't see everyone's face, right? So as I shared something, different people may have a different emotion, right? What Sissy said just now doesn't make sense, right? Sounds like a stupid idea. All this is fantastic, right? Don't know, right? And it's actually getting harder. I mean, I'm still trying to get used to it. Let's say in the face to face, you can sense it, right? So when people get restless, people stop paying attention, people now just start chatting, or people start walking out, or people stand up and disagree with you. So I think a lot of voices, I think, is key to see it. I think wherever possible. I think adapting to it. So I think, but sorry that I don't have a fantastic answer for this, but I think and I think a lot is just being true to ourselves, and we feel think that we have done the right thing. Right? I think.
Okay. So now let's shift from empathy to what are you reading right now? Interested to know.
Yeah. So interesting that I think that I actually used 2 books to prop up my phone for this call.
Okay.
Right.
Can we see those books?
Yeah. So let me. So one of it is here, right? Tough Things First.
Okay.
By Raisin.
Raisin. Okay.
And the other one is actually, can you see? Game Changer.
Changer. Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
By? I can't see the author's name.
Sorry, let me just-
Yeah. Sorry, I have to make
AG
you unprop.
AG
Okay.
Lathley and
And
Ram Taran.
Okay.
So
Okay.
former, I don't know, from current CEO or chairman of PNG. And to be honest, I think I have to admit that I tend to buy books, but to be honest, my reading rate completion is actually quite bad. I have to admit that, right?
Okay.
So I think I have more than 500 of such business books. Mostly I buy during the offers, feedback booth, or when a popular book fair or whatever, MPH, warehouse sales. Yeah, so I tend to go buy.
Hmm.
But I treat the books a lot more like a reference. So like let's say tough things first, right? I think during this period, thinking of okay, what are the things, tough things to go through, right? So I think that's one aspect. I think game changer, innovation during. So I think these are the topics I go through at this period of time. But I think different people at different stage will have a different topics, right? Maybe some stage you're thinking more on people. Some things maybe you're thinking of how to break through. Maybe I think, and I think there's no right or wrong, but I think pick the asking yourself what are the things, and then sometimes it's a serious reading, sometimes it's a more leisure reading, sometimes it, yeah. So I think it's just building on it. But I think reading, I think generally a lot of people read a lot. I think Bill Gates read a lot, Mark Zuckerberg read a lot, our CTO Azumi, he reads one book a week. Yeah, so I
Okay.
think there's no way that I can anywhere catch up. And I think a lot of times is I just have books around me. So I know that I actually be digital, but I'm still doing a lot of physical books. So I think when I go on flights, right, so I'll have a book with me. And sometimes that could strike a conversation with the passenger next to me on the plane. Because
So
of the
that
books
gives
that I
a chance to be more, how should I say it, to indulge in your favorite thing, talking to people.
yeah, so it's like a lot of times it's like you're just gone in it, then you're reading this book, people are like, oh, what is this book? Then that became a conversation opener, right? So I think, and some of them became friends, right? So I linked along on it. So I think, of course, I think feeling a bit sad. I think recently seeing 9 of the MPH going to close down, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and I think it's a tough time that I think a lot of the bookstores are struggling. So I think that's definitely the shift, like, right? So I think definitely we now read a lot more because with globalization. And I say read maybe in the reading in text or article or books, but I think also watching video webinar. Today, think of anyone in the world that you want to learn from them. You go to YouTube, you will find some videos there that you can watch, right? So I think that's basically connect that dots very well today.
I found a couple of your videos too. There was some. Yeah, I found your videos and I was doing research on you. Okay, we have one final question. So the question is, how did you find a good strategy?
Okay, yeah, so Dream Bus resources. Yeah, how do you find good strategy? Yeah, so to be honest, I think like for Faith, Joel is the main person that I think he's very good at strategic, big picture, visionary, thinking far, connect the dots. I'm actually very poor at it, to be honest, right? So I'm this boring number detail person. I knew. So if you ask me, like, let's say, how many people use Faith Pay last 1 hour? I actually know, right? So I'm like in those kind of bits and details.
Can you
So I
tell
think
us?
seeing
I'm interested too. In the last
yeah,
last week not last hour, last week, how many people use Fave since we're kind of opening up again?
yeah. So I think I couldn't share the public number here in this platform, but I think that the number definitely increased quite a bit, right? But I think the knowing the exact number, knowing which outlet. So like I think this morning I was talking to a team that, hey, how come this outlet suddenly the number dropped? So I didn't need to go to that shop to know that the QR, somehow the QR of that shop is damaged. From the data, we actually know that these shops, the QR got some problem during their shifting and whatnot. The QR got damaged, right? They need a new
But
QR.
it's pretty scary too. It means that a lot of people know what we're doing because we're using our phone so much, right?
Yes, yeah.
Where we eat, we shop.
Yeah, where you shop, what you eat. So let's say think of it right now. If you, I think Facebook, especially, I think knowing a lot about us, right? So I think in terms of maybe back to this topic of how do you define a good strategy, I think a lot is thinking on a big picture that where you want to get to. And I think Alibaba defined it quite well, right? What's a vision? What's a mission? And what's a core value towards that? And I think strategy basically helps us to drive towards that. right? So the big picture, what are the big pictures? So I think during COVID as well, I think many of us do many things, right? But I think a lot of it, maybe the question to think about is, what's the scenario of things that need to be post-COVID in the new normal? Some of the things that happened during COVID will stay. Some of the things in COVID may drop off quite a lot. Like, what are the things that we'll get to in the new norm? I think maybe that's the key part, right? So I think that's maybe one of the key aspects. How do we build through to that, right? So I think that will be one of the aspects that we can think about, right? So I think, let's say, example for us, delivery. Should we do it? Should we not do it? Right? Because ideas, there's a lot, right? So I think during COVID time, every day there's like hundreds of ideas. But I think as any organization and a company, we can only do a few things very well. So what are the things that we should do? What should we do to drive down? And I think one thing that I look at is like anything that have less than 1% of our total business, whether top line, whether bottom line, whichever metrics it uses or whatever you think of, then shouldn't do. So I think before we do, a lot of times ask ourselves, okay, would this make a material difference over some period of time? All right, what are the objectives that we try to do? Does it help us to get closer to our vision, right? Or dream? And then that could be about company, or that could be about the same thing about yourself. Each of us may have a dream. One day I want to be this, but I want to achieve this goal. So think of yourself as a strategy, the direction, right? What's your core values to it? What's the vision? What's the mission of life? And what's the strategy for you to get closer to that point? Right? So I think like, let's say Jivan, I think one of motivator is consultant coach as well. I think he talked about like how to get people to list down 6 things they want to do each day, right? And thinking of what your dream is, and then how do you work towards that, right? So I think that's one of the aspects to think about as well. So what would be the part? So I think of it, the strategy is if you tell when someone hear your strategy, they know where the direction is, and that's where they want to hit towards. So think of it is that, let's say, the strategy of the COVID, take COVID as a project, as a whole world, right? During the first part of the COVID was, I think, education, and then to say stay at home, prevention. But people know that you can't forever stay at home. And I think during the COVID, the MCO, one big part I think maybe for many of us is saying is staying home to be safe. But the main objective is to get our healthcare to be ready to handle that. Without MCO back then, there is chance that our healthcare, which some country faced through, that the healthcare couldn't cope and break. So that was to handle that piece, right? And I think that, yes, the cases are still not zero, but now the healthcare is ready, right? The hospitals are enough. People have now the mask. People have PPE. I think if you think, I think 1-2 months ago, people talk about not enough PPE. Now you don't hear about people talk about not enough PPE because it's there. But at one point, people talk about can't get masks. Today, you can get masks anywhere. So I think it's getting the readiness to buy time. So I think right now, as we go along, is how do you live in new norm and going through, and what will be the part. So I think that's how I see it. So I think strategy, a lot is putting thinking. I think a lot of time before we say something, maybe think through before we have a meeting. What's the objective of this meeting? Before we do a talk, what's the objective of this talk? Right? And I think that's something that I personally need to work on, because a lot of times I end up just whatever cross my brain, whatever go out, right? So really processing and thinking through.
Yeah. Okay. I thought this was the last question, but we have one last question. Okay. So one more is Q Hong. She's asking, we have to go to the cafe to use Fave. Would you think you're losing out to Grab, Food Panda, like not Panda Food, Food Panda, etc.? What's your take on that?
So I think Q Hong, so I think that each is a different segment, right? So I think of it is that they depend on what aspects to look at, right? So I think our audience is actually the merchant, right? So I think the restaurant's owner. So I think the goal is, what can we do to help them to drive the business? Yeah, so I think one is, yes, we can go and try to do delivery. Question is, can we do as good as GrabFood or Foodpanda? If we can't, then is there something that we can serve the needs, right? And we know that, I think you may have read that, okay, they charge 30-35% commission. Question is, at that rate, even it's pretty tough for them to do well, right? Profitably, survival, sustainably. So will we be able to do better? And what is our strength? What can we do? So I think for us is that for cafe, unless we think that in the 6 months time, 3 months time, there will be no more cafe out there, no more restaurants out there. I think our goal is how do we have the cafe to fill it up as gradually we reopen, right? So I think that's sort of where we think. And I think Grab, we actually work quite closely with them. Foodpanda, we know the owner quite well. We're actually in the same building in the office as well, right? So I think in the end, the space is huge. I think in the end is, are we bringing real value to make it easier, cheaper, better, faster for the merchants, for the cafe, for the restaurants, for the retailers and everything. So I think that's where we see, because the market is huge. We have 30 million population in Malaysia. And I think today, all technology add up is still covering a small part of it. Of course, COVID helps to significantly increase it, but it's still far from covering it.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Kyu Hong, for your question. Interesting. Okay, before we end, I have one question for you. Since we were talking about Dream Vast question just now about strategy, so let's talk about what's your personal goal or mission. Do you have?
Yeah.
I mean, can you share? Is it possible to share?
Yes. So I think for myself, I think, to be honest, I think for me, I'm not a big picture, not a big far goal person. I think for me, it's just live each day meaningfully. And I think as best as I can in each conversation, in each thing I do, try my best to add value. So I think that's maybe how I look at it. I think that, do I have aspire anything? Not really. And I think that one of the conversation with one of my colleagues, AB, who runs Singapore, right? So I think one of the conversation was talking about like, okay, touch wood, if one day we just pass away, will we regret anything? And I think both our answer was no. We try our best to live each day to the best that we can, right? And I think that's how matters. I think each day as we go towards the right aiming directions, where I think it's fine. So I think like, do we mean one day aim to achieve something? No, right? I think for me, it just go on it. So I think there's no right or wrong in this. I think there's all preference choice, right? So I'm not saying that having a dream is bad, right? It's good if that's matter. And I think all of us are motivated in different ways. All of us are excited in different ways. And I think in the end is be ourselves and be better ourselves, right? So I think the best is not trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, grass always looks greener elsewhere, right? So I think a lot of times we look at someone else, we always see, oh, that person is fantastic, that thing, right? But I think if you talk to each person, I think all of us go through tough times. All of us have great days. All of us have bad days. All of us have something that other people wanted. I think cherish that and work through that.
Okay. So I put up this banner that says connect with you on LinkedIn or Facebook. So which is preferable, LinkedIn or are you on Facebook?
Facebook, my only challenge is I hit the 5,000 cap. So I need to delete before the ad. So
okay, that's not too good for empathic entrepreneur. So you shouldn't delete people. So maybe they should just find your LinkedIn. Just find your LinkedIn and connect with you over there.
Yeah.
So this has been a truly interesting conversation. I was really looking forward to this because since we know each other, but over the years we haven't really been connecting to each other that much. But since I thought I wanted to talk about marketing and something that I feel that you do really well, even though maybe sometimes you may think that unconsciously, right? Like you enjoy speaking, you enjoy going out to do all your public talks. But at the same time, I find that is also a way for people to get to know you as well as your brand. So that's why I was thinking that you'll be a good person to come in, and particularly because now it's all digital. So people also like listening to someone who's from the digital world and talk about the actual experience of doing it. So so thank you so much. And I'm sure like our audience here, did you enjoy this? I'm going to ask them, did you enjoy this? Do you enjoy what Chen Chow was saying? I mean, I think he really shared from the heart. And because I know him personally, I think that's who he is in real life too. He is who he is. What you see on the screen, and if you meet him one day somewhere, he'll probably be the same person that you know. So I think that message is very, very clear. So if you enjoyed this, please make sure you connect with him so you can follow his news as well as follow Fave News, I suppose. If follow your news means to follow Fave News. So all of you here, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I know sometimes right now it's like easing into kind of like work mode, a lot of people probably are a little bit difficult to take time off for the Facebook Live. But as with all things digital, we are very happy that people who miss this now can actually watch it on the replay. So for those of you who are going to watch and replay, enjoy the session again. So Gina says, thank you for sharing, Chen Chow. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
And then Dream Vast also, and Kyu Hong and Rimi and all those people. Even, all these are basically friends of mine. I know they're entrepreneurs. I know they're in business. And I think it's really good to hear something honest and open sharing like this. So thank you once more, ladies and gentlemen who are on the call today. Please continue to leave comments. Oh, I wanted to also bring this up. So Kim was saying, Chen Chow, your humility came across despite your successful brand. Thank you for your humble sharing.
Thanks a lot, Kim.
I agree, Kim. Yes, he is. So despite all the good stuff, and he's a Penangite. So that part we must help you advertise more. You're a Penangite. So thank you so much. Krista. Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your time. I know you're super busy. I know you have to rush for another meeting. So thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, those on the call. And if you like this video, please remember to continue after this to share it with friends, especially in the startup world, or people who are making or marketing their apps, so that they learn a little bit more about what it takes to actually be a successful brand out there in the world. Okay, thank you so much, and we'll see you again at our next Facebook Live. Bye-bye. Thanks, Chen Chow.
Bye. Take care.